Mirrorless cameras are now mature products with new models coming out every year, but that does not mean the DSLR is dead. The DSLR is still an amazing tool when it comes to capabilities, and they even have superior battery life compared to mirrorless cameras. Although DSLRs are not actively made anymore except by Pentax, there are still a few models you can get even in 2024, and I've collected the best ones here. If you are trying to find the perfect DSLR camera for your needs, the list below will surely help you get one. We have a separate list for the best mirrorless cameras if that's your preference. We have listed the top 5 best DSLR cameras 2024, and their key features. You need to consider this to help you choose the best one for you. For more information on the product, as always, I've included a link in the description box down below, which are updated with the best prices on each product. Like the video, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to stay tuned till the end so you don't miss anything. Now let's get started. Number 5. Canon EOS 1DX Mark III. I got a chance to review the Canon EOS 1DX Mark III for a few weeks. It is the newest generation of the amazing 1DX DSLR, made for extreme fast sport and action photography. I took the opportunity to photograph the dogs in the park to see how it performs. I have been using a Canon EOS 1 series camera for quite some time. I started out with the Canon EOS 1D Mark III and switched to the Canon EOS 1DX eventually. These cameras are amazing machines, robust, strong, and they never failed on me. Nevertheless, a few years back I took a difficult decision to make the change to the EOS 5D Mark IV. A piece of me still regrets the decision a bit. You can imagine how excited I was when I got the opportunity to review the Canon EOS 1DX Mark III, together with the Canon EF70 200mm f2.8L3 lens. A perfect combination to photograph the dogs in the park. The Canon EOS 1DX Mark III isn't a camera for everyone. It is big, it is heavy, and it isn't cheap. Although you need to pay $6,499 for the body, I think it is worth the money if you are into sports and action photography. And you need a very reliable, responsive, and fast camera. Its appearance is similar to the older 1D series, with a built-in vertical grip that houses a nice big battery, and a secondary set of control buttons. The nice LCD screen is touch-sensitive, making it possible to use the touchscreen for operating the menu and every option during shooting. Yes, it is a DSLR, not a mirrorless camera. But the camera has some nice features that makes it almost a mirrorless camera too. The only thing missing is the electronic viewfinder. It shoots 16 FPS with the optical viewfinder, and 20 FPS without the optical viewfinder, while using the full autofocus and tracking abilities. It also has an amazing face and body autofocus that sticks to the subject like glue. Number 4. Nikon D850. The Nikon D850 is Nikon's latest high-resolution full-frame DSLR, boasting a 46-megapixel backside illuminated CMOS sensor. But in a fairly radical departure for the series, it is also one of the company's fastest-shooting DSLRs. This combination of properties should significantly widen the camera's appeal to high-end enthusiasts, as well as a broad range of professional photographers. The use of a backside illuminated BSI sensor means that the light-collecting elements of the sensor are closer to the surface of the chip. This should not only increase the efficiency of the sensor, improving low-light performance, but should also be expected to make the pixels near the edges of the sensor better able to accept light approaching with high angles of incidence, improving peripheral image quality. Like the D810 before it, the D850 continues to offer an ISO 64 mode that allows it to tolerate more light in bright conditions. The D850 promises the same dynamic range advantage as the D810, meaning it should be able to compete with the medium format sensors used in the likes of the Fujifilm GFX50S and Pentax 645Z. The D850 has gained a more usable electronic front curtain shutter option, EFCS, which can now be used quiet shutter modes, as well as live view and mirror up mode. To get the full benefit though, you need to turn on exposure delay, which has had 2 sub-second delay settings added. However, exposure delay persists across all shooting modes. Number 3. Canon EOS 5D Mark IV. The Canon EOS 5D series is arguably one of the most recognizable camera lines of the digital age, and the Mark IV is designed to appeal to the same wide range of enthusiasts and professionals. Nearly identical looking to its predecessor, it receives substantial upgrades under the hood, including a higher resolution sensor with dual pixel autofocus, 4K video capture, an upgraded AF system, a touchscreen, improved weather sealing, built-in Wi-Fi NFC, an interval timer, and GPS. All this adds up to a camera that fits into Canon's product line nicely as the all-around full-frame option. It is built around a new 30.4 megapixel CMOS sensor and uses the Digic 6 Plus processor. The AF system is from the flagship 1DX Mark II and contains 61 AF points, 41 of which are cross-type, with up to 24% expanded vertical coverage compared with the system in the Mark III. The center point is sensitive to 3EV in one-shot AF-S mode. In live view, the sensor is sensitive to 4EV with a fast lens. 4K video capture is a welcome addition to this camera, and users can record in either 24 or 30p, albeit with a 1.64x crop. All footage is captured as motion JPEG. Additionally, the camera allows for 4K frame grabs, effectively giving users 30 FPS stills shooting with dual-pixel AF. We've seen that the camera suffers from some rolling shutter, but it may still have some merit for capturing the decisive moment when 7 FPS just isn't enough. Number 2. Nikon D780. Let me say up front before getting to the actual review that the D780 came on the market at an awkward time. The timing was already awkward in that DSLR sales volume has been on the decline. The D780 was late to market for most of the folk that might update to it, e.g. D750 users, and the top-end D6 DSLR had also been announced. Thus, interest was already a bit low on the radar for this camera. The COVID-19 virus made the launch timing far worse. I barely gotten a full month's worth of shooting of sports, events, and other types of photography before the area in which I live went on a fairly severe lockdown, restricting my ability to test the limits of the D780. That said, I continued to do studio testing as I worked on my book for the camera. With camera retailers basically closed just after the D780 began to appear in volume, sales have been anemic. Demand for the camera has also been weak because of all the awkwardness of its timing, which is a shame. The D780 is a really good camera, as you're about to find out. It's one of Nikon's most refined products. I have a bit less experience with the D780 than I usually do with a camera before I publish my review, but I believe that I've managed to test it well enough to form a strong and accurate opinion. The Nikon D780 is the long overdue follow-up to the well-regarded D750. Generally popular cameras and the D750 was quite popular get updated on 2-year cycles. But here it was 5 years before the D780 update suddenly showed up. To some degree, that's likely because developing the Z system stole engineering cycles from the DSLR side of Nikon. The good news is that the D780 benefited from that. Number 1. Nikon D850. The Nikon D3500 is a deservedly famous beginner's DSLR. Blending portability and usability with the capacity to produce images of excellent quality, it's really everything a beginning photographer could need, and as such is a fixture among students. With the historic Nikon F lens mount at your disposal, you've got enough lenses to realistically last a shooting lifetime too. But with mirrorless cameras hogging the limelight and technological developments, Nikon's best beginner's DSLR is also likely its last. Is it still worth buying in 2024? Nikon has officially discontinued the camera, meaning you'll have a struggle to find one to buy new. However, the D3500 is still widely available on the used market. And there's a reason it keeps hold of a place in our guide to the best cameras for beginners. And that's because it still offers real value for money, especially with prices coming down on the secondhand market. Shop around and you'll find examples being sold for around $350 in good condition. However, there are a lot of reasons you may want to choose a newer mirrorless model instead, and those are only growing in number as more new cameras are released. If you want a rundown of the difference between the two formats, check out our comprehensive guide to DSLRs versus mirrorless. But otherwise, let's get into our Nikon D5300 review. The Nikon D3500 arrived in 2018, replacing the Nikon D3400, an entry-level camera that represented a pretty similar proposition with its 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor. The D3400 is still available on the second-hand market for around $315 to $250 in excellent used condition, though the D3500 is generally a better buy. It's lighter, better ergonomically, and has healthier battery stamina.